Today I want to talk about getting things done and enjoying the process. And it's a technique or a perspective called the samurai walk that I learned from a professor of mine at Columbia Business School, Bill Duggan. He's an author, and I think maybe a best-selling author. I learned this from him, and he's very gracious. I'm crediting him, but he was very gracious that he credits a samurai whose name I forget from centuries ago in Japan. But I'm going to tell you what I learned from him. All right, so I'm going to contrast getting things done through the samurai walk through getting things done with traditional business planning. So I'm going to oversimplify it a little bit, but I think you'll see what I'm getting at. So traditional business planning, at least one school says, if I'm here and I want to get there, what I do is I figure out a path to get there and the number of steps I have to take and what steps they are. So I might say if I'm here and I want to get there, I take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps to get there. All right. So that's my plan. So when I actually get started, I take my first step. Great. Say it works exactly as planned. That's great. Then I continue to the next step. Say the next step, I go a little bit off. Things always go wrong. So if I'm a little bit off, traditional business planning says, do what it takes to get back on track. So I get back to the intended third step, and then keep going, and that's the plan. But I'm always fighting to get back on track, fighting to keep going the way that I did. Often it works, often it doesn't work. The samurai walk is the following. It begins the same way. It says, I'm here, I want to get there, it will take me about 5 steps, and say those steps are exactly the same. So step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Here's where it changes. When you take your first step, always recognize that I'm now in a new place that I've never been in before. I can see my goal more clearly than I could before. I can also see my next step more clearly than before. And likewise, things that were never in my horizon have now become in my horizon, and also things that were in my horizon are now outside of my horizon. So it might be, for example, that the next step, which I thought was obvious, becomes a little harder. Or maybe I can anticipate that my next step will be a little bit off, so I can plan my next step a little bit differently. Also, if I look at my goal, what looked like one goal, I might see that there's something slightly different. Like maybe I want to get a job in X field. But now that I get closer, I realize there's actually subfields within that. And maybe one subfield within that is more interesting than another subfield. So it tells me, be more specific about that. Okay, so now say I take that next step, and again, I go off track a little bit. So now my third step is I'm a little bit off. The samurai walk says, I'm now in a new place. Reevaluate. Look again from that perspective. So maybe I say, now that I'm here, maybe my next step I want to take even further off. I don't necessarily have to go back to where I was. So it may happen that now I see an entirely new goal that's actually a better goal that I like more. So I may diverge even more. I may try to go back, but every step of the way, I'm always getting a new perspective, reevaluating my next steps, reevaluating my goals, and always doing slightly different things. So for example, for me in my life, if you look back at my blog, you'll see that I've done artwork, but you'll see I have no background in art. Like I took an art class in high school, junior high. And yet I have this medium that, if you look at my first company, I invented this technology that's a medium for communication that's like no other. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. I have something that no one else knows how to do, and people really like how it looks. I'd like to get into a museum. So that, I had these steps of how I might try to do it. And I started trying to do it, and first I had to learn how to make images. I had to learn how to express what I considered beautiful, things like that. And every step of the way, I was able to do something that I never could before, and I was always finding out new things along the way. So that very soon, I was diverging very much from where I thought I was going to go, but everything kept working out and I kept enjoying it. See, in many things, there's like 80-20 rules or 90-10 rules that say that 90% of the results come from 10% of the effort. When you're doing the samurai walk, since you're always looking at things with the beginner's mind, every step you take is like that early step. You're always doing all these beginner things, though you have lots of experience. And you're constantly getting 90% done with 10% of the effort. You may not be getting exactly what you wanted before, but often what you get done is more than what you wanted to get before. So it happened for me that I happened to get my piece into clubs in New York City, which led to getting my first solo gallery show, which led to more group shows, which led to more solo shows, which led to a piece of mine getting in a museum, which led to a piece of mine getting into Art Basel Miami Beach. With My Damon Letts, I mean, this was like, I had no anticipation that this would work out, but I samurai walked my entire way through it. Things worked out well. Anyone who looked at it from the end might say, well, Josh did an incredible job of doing these things, or at least I would. But I didn't know where I was going to get in the end. It just worked out that way because I wasn't so fixed on every step of how it had to be. Anyway, that's the samurai walk, and I hope it works for you. Thanks a lot.